Discovery and classification of chemical elements. The first person to discover a new element was Henrik Brandt, a bankrupt German merchant. Brandt tried to discover the philosopher's stone, a mythical object that was supposed to turn inexpensive base metals into gold, that is in the field of alchemy. In 1669 or later, his experiments with distilled human urine resulted in the production of glowing white substance which he called cold fire. He kept his discovery secret until 1680, when Robert Boyle rediscovered phosphorus and published his findings. The discovery of phosphorus helped to raise the question of what it meant for a substance to be an element. In 1661, Boyle defined an element as those primitive and simple bodies of which the mixed ones are said to be composed and into which they are ultimately resolved. This is the period of alchemy. In 1649, Henrik Brandt becomes the first known discoverer of an element phosphorus from distilled human urine. Phosphorus starts with the letter P. Discovery of the chemical elements, that is the classification of elements. The most important event in its history occurred in 1869 when the table was published by Dmitry Mendeleev, a Russian chemist who built upon earlier discoveries by scientists as second person Antony Laurent de Lavoisier and the third person John Newlands, but who is nevertheless generally given sole credit for its development. The periodic table is an arrangement of chemical elements organized on the basis of their atomic number, electronics configuration, recurring chemical properties. Elements are presented in order increasing of atomic number. The standard form of the table consists of a grid of elements with rows called periods, columns called groups. And John Newland's law of octaves. This is a great Russian chemist by name Dmitry Mendeleev. He tells about my favorite element, surprise, stabs interviewer Dmitry Mendeleev. This is the Mendeleev's periodic table. Still it is growing and growing. Science is dynamic in nature. As the science advances, new things are coming up. Discoveries are coming up. John Alexander Arena Newlands, born November 26th of 1837, London, England, died in July 29, 1898. Newlands was the first person to devise the periodic table of chemical elements arranged in order of the relative atomic masses, and he published in 1865 his law of octaves, which stated that any given element will exhibit analogous behavior of the eighth element following in the table. In Newland's table, the elements were ordered by the atomic weights that were known at the time and were numbered sequentially to show their order. Groups were shown going down the table with periods going across, the opposite from the modern form of the periodic table. This is the Newland's arranged elements in octaves. English chemist who saw law of octaves noted a pattern in the atomic structure of elements with similar chemical properties and contributed in significant way to the development of the periodic law. Another important person, John Wolfgang Dubrener. This Dubrener, he classified the elements in groups of three called triads, which is called law of triads. We will discuss later in the periodic table. This is the classification of elements in the ancient periodic table, the good old ancient periodic table, classification of elements. This is for your kind information. BVSM Academy is showing the good old ancient classification of elements in the periodic table. This is the modern present periodic table, where you can come across the groups and periods, non-metals, alkali metals, transition metal, alkali earth metals, rare earth metals, other metals, halogens and inert gases are all the discussion point of view in the modern periodic table. We